Hey, good morning, Sebastian. This is a quick demo video for you for your SP Sabers Shroud of the Darkside Emperor Saber. This is installed with a Proffie. It's a 2-button setup, so your 2 switches will be your plunger switches here and here. You've got a shadow foil props lit PCB in here, and this has a 28mm premium speaker in here. You cannot fit a base speaker, but I was able to fit a premium one. This Saber takes a lot to set up, all right? So I'm going to go through it all. If you ever have any questions, just of course refer back to this video because that's what it's for. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to take off this greebly right here. So we'll come over here and take this off. You want to kind of hold the back of the pommel like I'm doing with my palm right here. So we'll take this off, flip this around. We can now take this piece off, put this off to the side. You'll see your speaker here, and it'll drop right out into your hand. All right. From there, you want to come over here and unscrew this emitter. Now, before you take this chassis out, you want to take these 2 switches and hold them down. You see how they're facing down? You don't want them up like this. So make sure they're facing down, and then you can come over here from the back and you can push on your chassis and it will slide right out the front. All right, and we'll put it like that. The reason you don't want these switches facing up is because the second you turn this up, they're going to fall out of their hole. And they look like this. They're red and green acrylic plungers. All right, so we'll put those back here in a second. You've got a very small chassis here. It holds a removable 18350 battery that I'll send with the kit. You've got your 2 switches here. If this wants to focus, so you got a tactile switch here, and you've got another one here, and then you've got that shadow foil props PCB right here I was telling you about. Your Proffie board right here. You've got easy access to everything from here. You do not have to move the board. In fact, the board is adhesed down to the shelf. So when taking your SD card out in the future, you'll need a pair of tweezers. You can see that this stock pogo pin for your speaker is at an angle. All right, and it's meant to be that way, of course, and then that's why this PCB on the back of your speaker is not centered on the speaker pod either. So I'll show you how to put that in here in a second. All right, but for now, we're going to take our battery. We have a small 18350 here. Oops. And we'll put that in the Saber. It's a tight fit, so take your time, but it does snap in there. It goes in there fine. We don't have a speaker on, obviously, so we're not going to hear it, but if we hit the power button, you see lights, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll turn that off. Now what we want to do is we want to put the speaker in first. If you look at this speaker pod, you'll notice I have a groove cut out right here in the speaker pod, and that needs to line up with this little cutout right here. All right, that is clearance for this little nub facing out here on your pommel, right, that the screw goes into that holds it in place, and it has to be lined up perfectly, especially because this PCB is not centered. So this has to be lined up exactly right. So line up this cutout with this cutout here in the back of the pommel. Drop your speaker in place. While holding it, we can come over here and we can put our pommel in. Drop that down, hold it on, and now we can screw back in that little greebly that's holding everything together. All right, so come over here and screw that in. If you don't line that up properly, the pommel won't fit on, so you'll know exactly, or I'm sorry, you'll know right away that you didn't get that right. But if you got that right, it looks exactly like that. Now we want to come over here and put our switches in, which can be a little bit of a pain. I just do this with my finger one at a time. There's really no way to hold those in there because you want them free floating so that as soon as you let go, they back up off of the tactile switches. All right, so let me concentrate on doing this real quick. So You just kind of put them on the tip of your finger like that. Feed them in there. Pop them through the hole and then hold these down again so they stay in place. And then put your chassis in. All right, we'll put our chassis straight in. Push it all the way back. Try not to push on the pins though. All right, and then you can go ahead and you can flip this up and you can come over here and hit your auxiliary to switch sound fonts.
Chancellor Palpatine.
Hit your other button to for ignition. This will give you, just like that, give you a sanity check, and then you can throw this back on. All right. So you didn't send me, I don't think, all the parts that came with this guy. You may have a little baggie in your kit that has your grub screw. I don't have a grub screw that size. So you want to recheck the parts that you kept with you to see if you've got your blade retention screw in there, because that's your blade retention. All right. But now you can hit power. Auxiliary. If you have a hard time putting in the speaker first and then the chassis, try putting in the chassis first and then putting in the speaker. Sometimes it's easier to do it that way. I've done a lot of these, so it's, I put the chassis in last, but you can put the speaker in last to kind of give you a visual of where it needs to be. All right, but we'll hit auxiliary again to trade sound fonts.
The one true emperor.
And I got all of the sound fonts on here that you sent me. And this takes a 7/8 inch blade. So we're going to put a blade in here. I just won't swing it around very heavy. All right, we'll turn this light off here. Blaster bolt deflex is just tapping auxiliary. Blade lockup is holding it down and hitting the saber. You've got twist off there. If you want to play your soundtrack, it's a long press on the power when the saber's off. And another long press to turn it off. All right, go to another one.
Darth Sidious. You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Now when you hold it straight up, your blade lockup will be here. And as you move the blade horizontal, it goes out towards the tip. All right?
Chancellor Palpatine.
Just like that. We'll go ahead and turn this on, take the blade out, and we'll break it back down. Okay, this one is a very small chassis system. It does not have a kill switch. You'll need to take the battery out. So again, we'll just go ahead and we'll come over here, unscrew the emitter, come over here and unscrew this greebly that's holding in the pommel. Put those pieces off to the side. Take our pommel off like that. Our speaker will just fall out into our hands like that. While we're holding these switches down, we'll push it out from the back. Bring it out like that. And put this over here. And then you'll probably need a tool or something to take the battery out because it's pretty tight. So I use the back of a pair of tweezers, work it until you can pull it out like that, right? It comes right out. But that is basically your Shroud of the Darkside. Let me know if you have any questions and I'll get this out in the mail to you today. Thanks.